Imagine yourself in 1917 when you receive on your doorstep a letter from the military saying you have to join up the army and get into the trenches. Well, it wasn't really our decision to use trench warfare, rather it was our allies. So we got in the trenches and we ate dirt. There are 3 reasons why trench warfare was a bad idea. Like, the living conditions were terrible, there was no escape from the artillery fire, and there was hardly any progress. First of all, let's look at the fact that living conditions were terrible in the trenches during World War I. The living conditions in the trenches were terrible because the supplies would occasionally get lost or was never really sent. Our country couldn't supply thousands of troops overseas because they'd never really done it before. They've always fought on the home front. Men would be farther inland than anticipated. Like, say, they tell the suppliers that the men are 10 miles out from the drop zone, and really they're like 15 miles or 20 miles inland from the drop zone. So a lot of the guys had anything to do with eating mostly rats that were found in the trenches. The supplies such as food, clothes, and ammunition never really made it. According to the First World War.com, the trenches were full of rats. Also, our boys had to dig small rectangular holes on the side of the trenches. Those served as sleeping quarters. The men had nowhere else to sleep. Also, it kept them out of the rain, sort of. Secondly, another reason why trench warfare was not as a good idea was because there was no escape from the artillery fire. The artillery was basically trying to get a lucky shot into the trenches, because that's where the enemy was and that's where we were. If one does hit inside the trenches, you would see men wounded, limbs missing, or even scattered at your feet in little tiny pieces, because the shells are coming at you 100 miles per hour. And those things would land pretty hard. The only safe zone would be the far end of the trenches, near the reserves. The reserves were placed at the rear of the trenches, plus the reserves were far away from the front. That's where the artillery was basically focused on. Finally, there was hardly any progress to the war through the trench warfare during World War I. The war was a stalemate. We took their trenches and then recaptured theirs. They would capture ours and then we would capture them back. Both sides used different weapons. We used napalm, they used flamethrowers. We won because we scared them. They didn't expect a lot of American troops on German soil because we came in late to the war. And they underestimated us for our determination to win. Knowing what we know now, using trenches in the World War I, was not a good idea. Because living conditions were terrible, there was no escape from the artillery fire, and there was hardly any progress. Think about it. If you had a chance to go back to 1917 and join the World War, would you want to be in a trench? Or would you rather ended the war quicker by scaring the enemy with our determination? Just remember, the next time that there's a war, don't get in the trenches.